Hey, Tony, in what area or areas would you most like to see improvement in this opener and the whole season from last year?
Yes, the areas for me is consistency. Both sides of the ball, just to be consistent, to be competitive and be consistent and not beat ourselves. I like to see us from a special team standpoint show a better understanding schematically of what we're doing, and we spend a lot of time in fall camp, really emphasizing the fundamentals of special teams. I like the defense to continue to show the consistency that they had. I think when I refer to consistency, I was talking more about the offensive side of the ball. Those are the areas that I'm looking for, and then effort, not improve, but consistent effort as well. I thought the guys played hard, but we need to continue to do that in order to be able to get to where we want to go.
Yeah, Tony, it's been a long time since you guys have played a game. Have you felt the anticipation start to build a little bit this week with your team? And can you sense the excitement level from them
Oh yeah,
to get back to it?
It started. It started last week when we broke camp, and the first practice back. You kind of felt like we're getting ready for a game. Today, it was good to see the excitement. Guys were a little bit showing that they're a little bit tired of each other, trying to get a little scrappy, which was a good thing. So definitely can feel the anticipation. The guys have had good energy from the start of camp. They continue to have good energy, but you can feel, and you're starting to hear them say, it's game week, getting ready. So the guys are definitely excited, and you can feel it.
Tony Muskett's played a bunch of college football. He hasn't played in a stadium this size. He hasn't played, this level. What is kind of your anticipation, and how are you coaching him in terms of the emotions of what is a debut for him?
Just be himself. At the end of the day, it's about just playing your game. Doing what it is that have always made you successful. Not trying to do too much. And so for him, my message is: don't need to be Superman. Don't need to be a superhero. Just go be yourself and have fun and enjoy the moment. And for all the guys in particular, this is probably going to be an environment that they may not have played in before, and so they got to be ready. And they can't become overwhelmed by the environment. So you play for the roar of the crowd. There's no question about it. But after you hear that initial roar, then you got to lock in and just go do your job. And a lot of times, what happens is you get into a zone and you block out what's going on around you, and you just focus in. So really, that's the message for him and everybody. Just go be who I've seen you guys be for the last 6-7 months.
The last time we talked to you, some of your offensive linemen were banged up. You were hoping them to get them back for Tennessee. Can you talk about the health of the offensive line?
Yeah, good point there. Feel a lot better about that today than the last time that we talked. Boley's back in practice. Stevens back in practice. So we feel good about there. Jimmy's still about a week away. And then Houston, we're hoping that Houston in the next couple of weeks will be able to get some work. But we feel good about the 5 that we're going to run out there, and we've been able to have them the last several practices together, working together. But there was a stretch during camp at all positions where guys were up and down just because of the nature of the game. But I feel better about where we are with Boley being back at left, and then now Ugonna. We've been working him at guard. Now we're playing him at tackle. So you got him out at tackle. Ty's been steady, and then Josie's been healthy for a couple weeks now. So we feel much better there.
With your days at Clemson, you coached obviously in some really high-profile games against big-time opponents. Does that help you better in a game like this in terms of preparation and knowing, telling your team what to expect?
You're kind of getting into the good stuff right there. But this week it's really been about trying to prepare these guys for the environment, because it's going to be loud. There's going to be a lot of excitement. I think more so the crowd as much as just the anticipation of wanting to play. This football team hasn't played in a long time, and it's been a very, very long off season. So helping these guys understand how to channel that emotion, not to play the game before you actually show up to the game. Don't play the game in the locker room. You're going to have to make sure that you manage. And kind of the analogy I've been using is tanking gas in your tank, right? So you got to manage it, right? You can't use it all in the first quarter, in the first 5 minutes, right? You got to be able to use it each quarter, each play, and not be, too emotionally involved in the game. Because the emotions, what I've learned in games like this, the emotions are high early, and then it comes down to who can lock in, who can focus, and then when you get into the course of the game where there's momentum changes, can you stay steady so that you can continue to do what you need to do to give yourself an opportunity to be in position. But definitely focusing on just teaching these guys how to manage their emotions. Don't play the game the night before. Right? Don't play it on the bus ride to the stadium. So just kind of giving those guys some tips on how to manage themselves so that they're prepared to be able to play for 4 quarters.
You talked in November a lot about turning tragedy into triumph. I know mourning doesn't have a linear timeline, but is there kind of some anticipation or excitement of now maybe entering into that triumph stage, or just getting to honor your guys every Saturday now?
That's a great question there, because every day is the triumph for us. I believe as a program, every day that we continue to wake up and come to work, put our best foot forward, that's the triumph in all of this. And now we have an opportunity on a national stage to show just how resilient the human spirit is, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is just seeing the guys play in a way that inspires people. Because we know the responsibility that we have to the legacies of the ones that we lost, and we got a great opportunity because football is a great unifier, as I've said before. People are going to be watching, right? People are going to. The situation is going to come back up. It's going to be right in front of us, and we have a chance to say, you know what, we're going to accept the challenge, and we're going to be the ones that's going to triumph every single day. And the outcome of the game, it doesn't necessarily determine the triumph. For me, it's about how the guys play. And if they play in a way that inspires others, then they're going to give themselves a chance in each game that they play to be in it all the way to the end. And we got to learn as a program, how to win football games. I think that's not an easy thing. A lot of people say it, but it's a mindset, it's a mentality, and it takes experience going through the process to be able to develop that mindset. So really, really excited for our guys to play. Definitely going to be carrying the Davis family, the Chandler family, the Perry family with us when we step on the field, knowing their son should have been with us, right? And we're going to try and use that energy and channel it the right way to play in such a way that everyone says, you know what, that's a triumphant bunch of individuals considering everything that they've been through.
And then for guys like Sedarian, or even more specifically Will Bettridge, wearing 41 and wearing 1, how have you kind of seen them step into that role of kind of honoring them by wearing their jerseys? So
Bettridge, being a teammate of Deshaun, was excited about the opportunity, and you see that every day he carries himself in a way as to represent Deshaun, and Sedarian, coming from the same high school as Lavelle, what you've seen from him is just humility, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, and then also he understands the responsibility, being that same high school had a relationship with Lavelle prior to coming to Virginia.
We'll have information next week about special activities around the James Madison game. But because you brought up the numbers, Coach, you visited in the spring the legacy patches. Explain that a little bit more. So
the first thing after everything happened and you start to, gain your wits about you again, and you start thinking about football, one thing that I wanted is from us as a program to make sure that their legacies are visible every time we step on the field. And that was the motivation behind the patches that are going to be on 1, 15, and 41. Right now we had several guys that were already in those numbers that are wearing them. Obviously, Will Bettridge, a relationship with Deshaun and his family, transition to 41, and then the connection between the same high school with Sedarian. And going forward, as things continue to progress, we'll get input from the families. And it'll be a selection process to be able to wear those jersey numbers. But for me, it was about being able to honor them every single time that we step on the field. So not only did you see the number 1, 15, or 41, but you also had the patch that has their names, their initials, and all that stuff on it.
I can get you guys photos of those.
Mm-hmm.
I know you mentioned the health of the O-line, but Chico Bennett's not on the depth chart. Do you have a timeline for him to return, and any other injuries concerning?
So Chico, man, he was pushing for this week, and obviously it was a big scare for all of us when he And it's a crazy story of how it happened. He's taking a knee after practice, and then next thing you know, he can't straighten his leg. And we're like, oh, Lord, what just happened? And, we're very fortunate that it was a situation where it was a minor procedure where they just had to remove some bone fragments. And so really it's how quickly could the swelling go down? There was nothing structurally wrong. I was just walking over here with him. He's walking good. He's back running a little bit. So I'm anticipating, next week is realistic for him. Injury-wise, guys, Donovan Johnson is still a couple weeks away. Xavier Brown still a couple weeks away from being ready to go. I'm trying to think any more long-term guys. Yeah, Will Simpkins is back cutting and running, so I anticipate him back. And then, we have hamstring with Titus Ivy, young guy. Caleb Hardy is coming back from an ankle, and I anticipate, those will be week to week. So we should get some more guys back next week. But Chico was pushing for this week, but probably was the smartest thing is just to wait and hold him till next week, and gives Ben Smiley a great opportunity. That's what I'm excited about. He'll have a great opportunity, and I'm sure Chico will give him some tips to help him be prepared. But Chico's the biggest one. The other injuries we didn't anticipate having this week, and I'm hoping within the next week or two we'll have some of those guys back.
How about Antonio Clary?
Yeah, Clary. So Clary's he's pushing for trying to be ready this week. I think that he would be a guy that would be limited, but if we needed him, we could get some work out of him. But that would be more of a game time decision.
And kind of moving from those guys, some of the defensive guys, this is a very fast-paced offense.
Yes.
What kind of stands out when you watch them on film?
Whew, they're good. They're really good, and what they do is people talk about the pace, but it's as much of how they spread the field. If you watch them, they're very their splits are a little bit unorthodox. They kind of they go against convention when you start talking about the spacing, and because they really push their wideouts wide to the sideline. But then what it does is it forces a defense to make a decision. And then if you're doing that and you're changing formations depending upon how your defense adjusts, you could have traveling back and forth, with some of your secondary guys, which creates a problem in terms of getting lined up. Then they're physical up front. They can run the football. The quarterback, man, he's a stud. He can run it and he can throw it. Is a throw guy first, but man, when he pulls it down, it's pretty scary. Their backs run hard. Offensive line wise, I know they got a little bit of transition with a couple guys, but I anticipate that you'll see a very similar group that's physical, can protect the quarterback, but then also can create movement in the run game. So for our defense, we're going to have to be very quick after the whistle to get the call and get lined up. And that's something that I've always challenged the guys is to win between the plays. And the way you win between the plays is your intensity, your focus, and your sense of urgency. Can you hurry up and get the call so that you can get lined up and go ahead and process the play before the ball's ever snapped? So the speed and then just the width of the splits, right? And then the ability for them to do a lot of different things. They motion in stacks. They do a lot of good stuff, and they do it fast. And then they also they kind of break your rules. That's the tough part is from a defensive perspective, you have rules, you have spacing on the field, certain landmarks, and now they're outside of your landmarks, so all of your training is kind of out the window. Now you have to adjust specifically to the spacing, a lot like preparing for option football, right? So it goes against the rules, even though it looks very similar to what you're seeing in college football, the fact that those guys are pushed to the sideline, your leverages change, all kind of different things change. And then now what it does is, especially in the run game, it creates just one-on-one matchups without the support being able to get there, right? Because they got to defend the perimeter. So it's a big challenge.
You had Kobe Pace for a couple years at Clemson. He's been here for 8 months or so. Is it fair to say that injuries have held him back more than anything from a talent standpoint?
Oh, no question. No question. He's as talented as any of the guys that I've coached. And I know people are going to look at you coach Travis Etienne. Well, let's not compare anybody to Travis Etienne because he was kind of the unicorn. But Kobe's he's a complete back. He can do everything. He's a big guy, but he has better feet, body balance, and vision than you would anticipate from a big guy. So he's not just a plugger. He can find the holes, then he can split out and catch the ball. He's 215 pounds and one of the strongest guys in the weight room. So it's been injuries, and unfortunately for him, he plays a position where there's going to be a lot of contact, right? A lot of contact, and for us, unfortunately, he went down for a couple days, but he's been working his way back, and I feel good about the rotation, and I think nowadays you're seeing that's kind of been the strategy with backs is to do it by committee, but I anticipate that you'll see a lot of him, you'll see a lot of Mike, you'll see a lot of Paris early on for us.
You touched on the tempo that the Tennessee plays with. How do you guys simulate that in practice?
Oh, man, we got the scout team going fast as we possibly can, and then coaches, straining and pushing the guys to get lined up. So you try to emulate it as fast as you can, and then, there's components of what we do offensively where we have tempo, and so throughout the course of fall camp, when we've had our good-on-good work, we've put an emphasis on tempo, and I think it helps both sides of the ball. It helps us to practice our own tempo, but then it also helps the defense be able to get lined up a little bit quicker. And that's the key. If you get lined up, right? Because they do what they do, and they're good at what they do. But you got to get lined up to it and have formation. That's what defensive football is formation recognition in certain situations.
Jeff asked you about pace, and I'm curious, Malcolm Green, we see him listed as an or. How has his camp been?
Yeah.
What have you seen, and what do you like?
So Malcolm is a guy. First thing is a story about him and his family. Unbelievable family. First and foremost, Dad is a UVA grad, and so when he showed up on his official visit, at my previous institution, he had on basically a coat and tie. He had on a coat and tie. Him and his little brother had on a coat and tie on an official visit. First time I'd ever seen it. He when he went to school out of high school, he had his associate's degree already. So you're talking about a very, very motivated young man. He loves football. I mean, he loves football, and he loves everything about football. He's a very, very violent guy for his size, being that he's a corner, right? But he plays very, very aggressive and very, very violent for his size. So you saw those things, and then he wants to lead. He doesn't back down from any challenge from a leadership standpoint. So really, really, pleased with that aspect so far, and that's something that I wanted to bring to our locker room, just to be able to challenge guys to strive for their best. Biggest thing for Malcolm is he's transitioning from the nickel position to the corner position, where we say, hey, at this position you might not need to be quite as aggressive and physical, right? Because now you're wanting to jump every route, and then people are going to exploit that. But he's been awesome in the locker room, and then Sam's done a really good job too. So both of them are going to play. They're going to play a considerable amount, and when you put an or up there, either guy could run out there, and that's what I like. Is I would like to have more ors, because then now you can maintain the competition level and take it all the way to game day. Mm-hmm.
We were talking to Des the other day, and the first thing he noticed about Tennessee's defense was their front seven. Can you just talk a little bit about them and how you expect them to test Tony early? Yeah,
you can't help but notice them. They're big. Like they're really big. When I look at the list, especially the inside guys, 320, 340, 310, 301, 310, right? That's big on the interior, and they're not just big, two gappers. Man, these guys can move. They can push the pocket. They can get off of blocks. They can disrupt the run game. And then you're going to have to double them, right? It's going to be hard to single block those guys. And then when you look at guys off the edge, Harrison and Barron, man, they're twitchy. They're talented. They can get after the quarterback. So, and then I think their best player is Aaron Beasley, the linebacker. He roams around. He's a great pass rusher. Man, he's a big guy. That's a matchup problem on your backs. It doesn't matter who your back is. Our biggest one is 215. He's listed at 225, but he plays a lot bigger than 225. Very experienced, too. He's a senior, played a lot of football. And then they're bringing in the transfer from BYU. I think it's a transfer from BYU. He's a big guy. So they're big, they're fast, they're athletic. So the way that I think they're going to challenge Tony is they're not going to let him hold the ball, right? Because they're going to be able to push the pocket interior-wise. They're going to be able to create, pressure and squeeze the pocket coming off the edge. They're going to force the ball out of his hand quickly. I think they're going to try and bring some pressure. See can they overwhelm our backs in protection and get to the quarterback? See can they rattle them? And then I think you play man coverage on the outside, and you say, hey man, are you good enough to beat us? So that's why I think they're gonna challenge Tony. They're gonna stop the run with their 6-man box, right? And then they're gonna be able to play cover one, man coverage, man free across the board. And they're gonna say, hey, I want to see you throw and catch in tight windows, and you better not hold that ball, because if you hold that ball longer than 2.8, all right, you're gonna be on the ground. So that's what I anticipate is gonna be their approach. They play Clemson differently when you watch them on film. Still trying to figure out kind of why they did, considering kind of at the end of the season, Clemson was down a couple of receivers. They played a little bit more two-shell, cover two. Now, part of it was to try and frustrate and confuse Klubnik with some of the variations of coverage. But I think that they're going to play, in my opinion, what I told the guys, big boy football. They're going to line up, they're going to be in your face, and they're going to come after you with 6, right? And then if they can't, they're going to go 7, and they're going to play zero coverage, and they're going to say, hey, let the best man win. That's what I'm anticipating.
Lex Long, you guys moved into linebacker at spring, but he's rotating a little bit at safety and linebacker. What is it about him that makes him so versatile, and how has he done balancing those two responsibilities?
So Lex is first of all, if you spend any time with Lex, you realize that he's an awesome young man, and very, very well-rounded, very diverse just in his personality and his interests and his likes. And I think that helps him in football, because he's been able to live his life where he's got he focuses in different areas. So it's easy for him to transition from one spot to the other. Linebacker, I was kind of talking to Rudd. I was like, hold on now. I see him show up every day on film at linebacker. Why are we moving him back? But, it's a function of the depth at corner. Now we're having to play Cohen at corner until we can develop, some of the younger guys and create some more depth. And then the same thing at safety with Clary being down, for an extended time during camp. Just a little bit more veteran leadership, and he's played the safety position, but could easily transition to the linebacker. And I think the emergence of Cam Robinson too, gave us some more depth at linebacker. And then Bracey's taken another step, so we feel good about the 2 deep at linebacker, where we got the ability to take Lex and put him back, but he's also ready in an instant to transition back to the box if we need him. And so what makes him, so versatile is just his athleticism. He's very athletic for a guy his size. He's up to probably about 220, 25 pounds, but he still runs like he did when he was a little bit lighter. And then when you get him in the box, you can see his twitchiness and his suddenness creates a different outcome, when he attacks the football.